Okay, hello everyone. Welcome. So this meeting has been advertised in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act and is publicly accessible. Roll call, please.
Kevin?
Here.
Rocco?
Here.
David Cittadino? Absent. Joan, Dr. Joan?
Dr. Jones.
Dr. George. Dr. Joan George?
You're on mute, Joan.
Joan, you're on mute.
Yeah,
Oh, there.
I'm on mute.
Okay.
I took her off.
Sarah? She's on mute also.
She's on mute.
I'm here.
Maria? Is Maria
No,
here?
Maria's not here.
Absent. I call my name out. Rosemary?
Yep.
Present. Zainab?
She's not going to be here.
Maddie? Here. Okay. Mayor Walker? Absent.
Okay.
Frank?
I'm here.
Okay.
Did you get Rocco? Oh, you got Rocco.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Is everyone okay
All
with
right, to
volume?
the flag.
Raise them.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
United
of the United States of America,
and to the republic
which stands
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice.
justice for all.
Okay. All right. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you. We are going to go into executive session real quick, just to discuss some matters of finance. Anything else? Nothing else, right?
Nothing else.
Nothing else. Okay. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
Weber move.
Okay, Weber and yourself second. There you
Okay.
go. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. So we will put the public into the waiting room, and
I'm sorry.
we shouldn't be long, just a few minutes.
Put in waiting room. There we go. And I'll pause the
Yes,
recording.
please. Sir.
Okay.
That's this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's the- Okay, I think we're back. So we are ready to go on with the rest of the agenda. So I will move on to the minutes.
You can move those together.
Let's move them together. The approval of the regular meeting minutes and the executive session meeting minutes of February 14th. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, then roll call, please.
Rocco?
Abstain.
Dr. George?
Yes,
Sarah?
Yes.
I am a yes. Maddie? Yes. Frank?
Yes.
Evan?
Yes. Okay. Moving on to personnel, approval of job description of branch services manager. The information was sent out during the week. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I can second it.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes. What is the proposed salary for this position?
It's a supervisor's salary, which is, I believe, 72.
And what is the portion of it down at the end that says in your absence, this person, assuming that they're in, since they're going to be part-time, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Is this person going to be a full-time employee or a part-time employee?
It's a full-time employee. And that's why when I submitted this job description, it fleshes the job out to go beyond the management of the Lawrence Harbor branch. And it's full-time and it's a supervisor salary. The librarian who's there is currently receiving a stipend because they're being asked to do supervisory duties so that they are compensated. And the previous person in that position was also a supervisor.
Amy,
And
she was a library assistant, I believe, when Amy was there.
with a stipend.
And Chris, do we have any concerns with this position as far as the union is concerned?
No, this is just another managerial position, supervisor.
Okay.
being paid according to the collective bargaining agreement. So
Okay, Thank
it's routine to that extent.
okay.
Who
And
will be at Lawrence Harbor? That will be this person, a librarian and a library assistant?
Yes.
3 people?
No, a
Lawrence Harbor.
librarian who is this person is a librarian and a library assistant.
We always staff,
Staff members.
we always staff 2.
First of all, there's a library assistant and a librarian there now. We are now adding a supervisor
Or this be instead of.
This would be instead of,
instead of the librarian.
yes.
Okay. So the librarian could apply for the job of supervisor and we would interview and decide whatever we're going to do. All right, I understand that then.
Yeah.
all right,
I'm okay
I-
with that.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Okay.
Are all of the responsibilities that this proposal indicates, aren't the majority of these things that are now done by the director?
Such as?
Um, let me get to the minutes. I have to open my minutes file.
It's a mixture, Frank.
Okay,
The discussion we had in the past was to create a position called, I don't remember what the name of it was, but it was another supervisor who would do all the non-librarian supervisor things that the director wanted to give up. That's why we never discussed a branch manager. I'm not sure that we had branches because it talks plural. I don't know what the other branch is. It also in the job description specifically mentions Lawrence Harbor somewhere. I would assume this would be for any branches that come in the future. It's just unclear as to what the organization is. And it's not that we haven't discussed it. We discussed this in June. In July and August, we created other positions that were never filled. So it's kind of unclear at this point.
This person is going to oversee and manage the branch, right? Any additional branches that may not ever come, but also outreach services. Is that correct? So
Yes.
as we start to get the van service back going and visiting senior centers and daycare centers and so on, correct?
It's all of our off-site services
Right.
outside of the main branch. So it's the
That was the other job description that we had, was going to do that also. What I don't completely understand is if you have a program for adults at the main library under adults, and this person is doing a program for adults at the branch, is it a different one than the one?
You have the option of doing another program at that branch, or they could do different programming. And in that way, we can start to increase our programming. Like right now, we're seeing people outside of the Lawrence Harbor area who are going to the Saturday story times. So it's creating another opportunity for events and programs where we don't currently have the space.
So if we have 2 people doing programs and they disagree, you're over them. The director is over them and would make the decision as to what happens, I would assume.
All programming goes through me anyway.
Okay.
and let me get to my agenda.
Who's getting to an agenda?
Frank, that's me.
What is it you want, Frank?
I want the list of the all the duties of this job. I don't have it in front of me.
It's behind them.
So I'm
Yeah, that was very cute. Thank you. I know
So
where I
in a
should.
nutshell,
I know where I want to put it.
The new job description is very similar to other ones we had, Frank. I don't think it's so very different, but
Yeah, but these are things now that do the other supervisors all do any of these?
They don't manage off-site services.
Now, everything on the list, is that only off-site services or is it
If
some of
you
those?
consider managing the Lawrence Harbor branch to also be an off-site service, then
I
yes.
don't consider it obviously, why would I do that if they're at the building?
Everything outside of the main branch is referred to for this discussion as offsite. So it's all services outside of the main branch.
So Frank, the first bullet states, works with community partners, trustees, and staff to determine and develop facility and service opportunities in greater Old Bridge area, in parentheses, branches, book drops, satellite locations, etc. And then further down, it says, cooperates with schools, businesses, and relevant community organizations for outreach services. So that's something else that we've talked about as well. And Rocco's been part of those discussions, being that the schools no longer have librarians, doing more services with the schools and so on, eventually getting to that. So I think that person will be working, correct me if I'm wrong, closely with the schools and stuff in seeing how we can get into the schools and help the students with library services.
Correct.
All right.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. George,
No,
Sarah,
Yes.
I am a yes. Maddie,
Yes.
Frank,
No,
Kevin,
Yes.
Rocco.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to finance. Action, the bill listing in the amount of $180,446.22. I did speak to Maria today, who is unfortunately unable to attend the meeting. She did review the bill listing. She has no concerns and is fine with us moving it. So I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
yeah, I'd like to know if the payment for two at a time for $8,000 is on this bill list.
For which?
Oh, I think she
Two at a time, tutor.com.
It's not two at a
Yes.
time. What is it?
Tutor.com, I
Tutor.com.
believe it is.
Well, I'd like to know because I really don't want to vote for that, so
Well, I'm sorry.
I
thought
have
that
your-
was sent to you.
I have it here.
I can pull it up.
or you can you can say if it's on a list, it's to be, you vote no for. I think.
Don't like to put my name on something that I don't agree with.
Understood.
Don't do that. But we had a long discussion on it. And I just want to know if yeah, it's on this list. It's on page. Boy, this is a crappy. Page 5. Tutor.com, $8,000. Voucher listing.
And did anybody call them and see if we could pay the half year as we talked about?
I did and we can't.
Well, that's just my question. So that's only my vote, nobody else. I also have another question and I don't know where to ask it. And it was asked of me and I can't answer it. Of the savings accounts we have, where are they and what interest does each one pay? Now, about 2 meetings or 3 meetings ago, I believe Esty asked the question and it wasn't answered. All we have is total amount of interest we got, total amount of money. I think the question is, for each account we have, what interest is it paid and who monitors that?
The figures are in my desk. Alan started monitoring them and it looks like they've been looked at about quarterly. As Esty was the one who wanted to review them with the finance committee, and I've not heard from the finance committee. I haven't provided that to them.
Well, I'd like to have some kind of an answer because I just went through a period of time, as I'm sure some of you did, of moving things out of one bank that was paying 2% to another bank that's paying 6%. So do we do things like that or not? And if we don't, on $4 million.
So I think that's a question maybe we should bring up to the finance committee. So I'll take note of it and speak to Maria, who's chairing the finance committee, that we can look into that. But sticking with the bill listing, I don't see tutor.com on here.
Well,
But-
I'm looking at page 5 of the R&D, not the bill listing.
That's where
The
I am.
voucher listing for February 14th, I'm looking at page 5, and it's the 1, 2, 3, 4th item up. On it says tutor.com, $8,000.
So at the end of the discussion, Frank, you had asked about holding off to see if we could suspend the subscription, and they would only allow us to suspend the subscription if we had a closure of the facility. Since we don't, they don't function that way. So whichever, at the end of the conversation, the board had said, move ahead with it for now. So that was the only reason why I moved ahead with it for now. Whatever decision the board makes is what we'll do. So I wasn't going against, I was following instructions.
So I believe that the decision was, there was 50 some odd, I'm gonna guess 56 people that are using it currently, whatever it was, 53, okay. And we said, perhaps those students need it, and that's their only source of tutoring. We didn't want to take it away from them. So we said, if we could suspend it, great, and we'll look into it. But if not, let's pay it this year and do the research before next year if there's a better alternative.
And we've
exactly
started
what we said last year. So we'll hope that next year has a different outcome. Last year, we were not pleased with people using it. We were going to test it for the last year and then decide whether we renewed it.
Can
You know what? It's not worth talking forever about it, but just so that we have a follow through on looking at that, because $8,000 for 53 people is a lot of money. It also, we have no idea whether one person went 4 times or what. I have no idea what the program is.
So can I make a recommendation? If we're going to be hiring a person for branch and outreach services, right? We're getting near the end of this school year, and that was part of the discussion as well. We're getting near the end of this school year. Let's go into the next school year promoting a lot of our services such as tutor.com and see if that increases the activity that we see on there.
Right.
So can we make sure that when you finally bring someone in for that position, that that's a priority going towards the summer, so that by August and September, as the schools are getting in, that person has a plan to get into the schools, start promoting library services, and getting the word out for resources such as tutor.com. And then let's look in 6 months to see if there's any additional traffic, and we can start to, take a note, maybe, 6 months down the road to bring a report to the board, and we can look to see at that point, are we going to consider getting rid of it or pushing it even more?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's also why in the database report that I sent, I made sure right now, all of our administrative software, all of our databases, all of it is put in one category.
I saw it. That report was good. That was very clear.
Thank you. But I just want to add one thing. This is why I've started breaking it out so that the board has a better understanding of what we're spending. If you look at that instructional services category, that instructional services category is heavy. So this is why I broke it out the way that I did. So we're starting the analysis is my point.
Okay.
All right, just one more comment and I'll shut up. Who decided that tutor.com is worth the money that we're spending on it? I believe only one of you on the board is an educator. Rocco and I believe our new person is a teacher.
Yes.
That's true? Yes, I'm sorry, we weren't. Matt. But the whole idea of tutoring and how it should be done, whatever, we need somebody to look at it. I don't only think that it's because we didn't advertise it to people that nobody is doing it. I know I have talked to at least 3 people who have used it and said it wasn't worth it. Educationally for their child. Now, the whole idea of tutoring is something we could talk for 3 more hours about, but let's not. all I want to do is spend our money where it's going to make a big difference. And this is obviously hasn't done it for the past. Let's make sure it does it in the future. But let's find out how often they say they tutor from kindergarten on up. What are they tutoring in kindergarten? I mean, come on, guys. So anyway, I just want to get what we pay for. $8,000 is a significant amount of money. And we'll get a report for next year, and then we'll know what we're buying. And I'd like a
We
little
also
more
talked about
flexibility
the fact
in
that
them.
not all parents have the opportunity to pay for a tutor, so that was part of,
Yeah, but tutoring, you're a teacher. I teach math one way, I teach it there, and little Chris doesn't get it. So we call up Tutor Time, who has a teacher in Wisconsin, and tutors him. I'm not sure that that's efficient. I just want somebody to tell me who's used it is, because it isn't what I would want done as a
to
teacher.
each his own, because the other issue is if you're a single parent and you have more than one child and one child needs a tutor and you can't come home from work and find the time to drive that child over to the library to get tutoring services, it might be easier to just allow them to use tutor.com while you're getting dinner ready for the other children.
Or other tutoring services.
There's different scenarios for everyone, and everybody's got a different case. So I think that there are people that probably can use it, should use it. Maybe they aren't, and others are. But we'll see.
Kevin, before you finish, did we use do you have the numbers doing on the other service, the state service, the one that we have?
The state service.
Brain freeze or whatever it is. I forgot the name.
So here's the thing. That's not Brain Fuse. Brain Fuse is not currently
brain freeze.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, Brain Fuse is not free. We're also paying for that.
No, I understand that, but how much activity have they had, and what are we what are they charging us?
So we also, the numbers there weren't great either. That was so.
All right, give me a whole number, please.
The numbers on the report that I sent, it was 25 life help sessions and 2 writing lab sessions, meaning you can submit a paper to them for them to review.
Rocco, a question for you. Is there another, there going to be any more parents things coming up between now and the end of the school year?
Well, I would imagine there's going to be PTA meetings in all the schools throughout the district.
Yeah, because do we continually, if a teacher wants to recommend somebody if they can get some extra tutoring, do they know it's available here even?
Yeah, I'm not sure on how much people know, but we could definitely send it out through the PTAs. There's also probably at least one more curriculum and instruction committee meeting. This is a time we could actually, if we wanted to promote it at the next curriculum committee meeting, I think that would be a great opportunity to do so.
Yeah,
those are the 2 places where I think it would be the most effective.
Well, one of the scary things is a new paper that came out from a couple of universities. I just read it today. And it says basically a lot of the parents are not capable of tutoring their children because the changes in math and the way things are done. So, historically, if you go back to the math students mostly in the farm towns, because these kids are up at 5 o'clock doing chores, and they had to know how to measure, they know how to add, they know how to subtract if they were bringing a product to market to sell it. So most high school students could not pass their 8th grade math tests. So part of it is obviously there's a lot of things that we got a lot of parents, I guess, that are out there that don't have the skill sets to teach some of the way math is taught now.
Well, let's find out more about it and have another discussion.
Especially with the amount of loss that we've had of learning, and we don't seem to be making it up quickly.
Yeah.
I would like to hear from teachers on how they've found this. Some teachers whose students have used this, are they pushing it? I don't know. We're saying that the reason why we haven't advertised it enough, we don't even know what we're advertising. I don't know what we're advertising. Maybe it's just me.
I mean,
But anyway,
Upper
enough time on
Upper
this.
Systems, is that for older students?
So
or
my apologies, Brainfuse actually belongs up with the instructional. So that's the tutor.com is on-demand tutoring. So you contact them with a specific question.
Right.
So I absolutely want us to make sure that we do a very in-depth, not only analysis of this, but comparison of all the instructional databases that we have. There's one that we don't have that's called Udemy. But we have Universal Class, we have tutor.com, and Brainfuse are the main instructional databases. And we have someone on staff whose child used tutor.com, and the issue was that you don't go back to the same tutor. Every time you ask a question,
Yeah,
you're going into a different person. And I absolutely agree with Dr. George. I don't know that there are a lot of teachers who are going to recommend that. And I do agree that getting their analysis of it is extremely important to seeing how we continue. But this is a start to that database usage report.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. You have the teen group here. Why don't we create like a focus group and have them try out the different programs and get their input on it? Because they would be the ones that are utilizing it. It's better than us trying to figure out what it's about and guessing and reading reports and data if people aren't using it. So your teen groups here are phenomenal. And I see that there are all different spectrums of learning too. So it would really give us a nice idea as to what their thoughts are. And then we can look at it. And then maybe we can look into the other local facilities near us, the different libraries, and see what services they're using and what their success rate is. And that's how we really can determine for next year what would be the best route to go.
Yeah.
And this is what the library does constantly, and the librarian should be doing with making the recommendations.
Yeah.
For the purchases for databases in the same way they do books and other materials.
Okay, so moving on then, any other discussion on the bill list? Okay, roll call then.
Sarah?
Yes.
I am a yes. Maddie?
yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Rocco?
Yes.
Dr. George?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any old business? Does anyone have anything for old business?
No.
I'm sorry, were you gonna say something?
It's something
Oh, no,
for new business.
Okay. So new business, let's start with item A first. Accept the quotes from PMC Associates Wireless Communications totaling $51,965.23 for keyless entry. So I'll ask for a motion first.
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
Okay, discussion?
I don't know, $51,000 is an awful lot of money. We spent 40,000 on a door, so that's 90,000. And I don't know if the value of it, unless it's mandated by the municipality or somebody, if it's not broken and we haven't had a problem over all these years, I don't know what the advantages it brings to the library or the town since it's their money. $51,000, therefore I'm a no.
So I'm going to ask what's driving the need for it, because like I understand that the schools have it, right? But the schools is a closed environment, not open to the public. So for teachers, when they go out on their lunch break and need to come back and so on, you need to have some sort of keyless entry that they can access the building. But we have an open door, right, throughout the day. Is this like keyless entry completely like every doorway, or is it specific doorways that we want to keep closed and provide access to?
So in the proposal, I believe it's 7, and the impetus for this proposal. So I just want to go back for 1 second. The door being replaced, the door wasn't working anymore. It was original to the building and it was broken. So this is something completely different. This is the way that security has been evolving in municipalities around the country. The keys still work. So you're absolutely right. I mean, we can get in the building. One of the issues that we have, every single employee who's not a supervisor or a full-time, so all of our part-timers, they buzz at the staff entrance. Someone has to, all the way in circulation, has to look down at the other end, identify the person, and let them in. Doesn't seem very complicated, but in the morning, that ends up being Linda. If Linda's not here, that ends up being Irene, or it ends up being me getting up to answer the buzzer every time. So that's just one issue of convenience. Anyone else who rings that buzzer is a delivery person or somebody who does have to be vetted when they come in. So what this does is, if you have these key fobs, they're set up for each individual employee. So you can see exactly when the employee is coming in or out of the building. So it's an issue of security. A couple of weeks ago, we had the master key go missing here from the reference desk. That's an issue where technically, if you really had a disgruntled employee, you could have to go around and rekey your entire building with a key like that going missing. So it is, in the long run, it's promoted as a potential cost savings. I don't know how true that is, but our keys when I got here were also a mess. I have people with master keys that could get into almost any office. There's an issue with that, but this proposal is only for 6 or 7 of the doors. When they came in and with the police officers, I went over, and the suggestion was from the town and from the police department. We recently had the active shooter training, and during that time, the police heavily promote the use of the keyless entry systems in preparing for those situations. So that was the impetus for this, where it came from, in addition to the rest of the municipal complex being done this way. So at the end of the day, we're using the library, but the library is a town building. So it's just out there, but it's supposed to be for security. It's supposed to be for uniformity with people getting in, and it wouldn't be every single one of our doors. It's the ones closest to the police station, it's the staff door, and a few others that they picked out from a security standpoint. So it's not every one of the doors.
And we can program each card individually.
Yes.
So somebody only works Monday through Friday, so on. We can program theirs to only be able to work from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. or whatever it might be.
Absolutely.
And what happens if there is a power outage or something?
They have, at the beginning of keyless entries, there were issues with that, but they've worked around them now to where there's manual overrides and things like that. Like I said, the whole municipal complex has done this transition. We're the only building on the campus that does not have it.
We do. And then the other thing is, if you have an employee and they are disgruntled and they leave, they may be giving you a key, but you don't know if they have a copy. So by having the fob, they turn off the fob.
So
So
who
nobody can
manages
get
that?
access.
So I would want us to manage it.
Who's us?
The library.
No. But like, whose job responsibility would it be?
So that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
would like for us to administrate it. We can have IT do that. Building layers of separation in communication, I prefer us to do it. IT will absolutely do it for us. If we would like them to, that's another decision for the board. But the other part of this is that we are getting a portion of their server for our information to be stored on there. So that's an additional safety, because it's not physically on our server in our building, it's from the town. So everything there is kind of centralized with regard to security.
The thing that's hard to understand sometime and hard to wrap your head around is we don't own that building. So if the whole township does something one way, why isn't the building they own included in that plan to do that way? And they pay for it. I'll pay for it. I don't have a problem with that. But I don't think that we pay for everything. If I rent an apartment, I don't pay for the front door. I mean, it's part of it. I don't think we understand things, and that's what makes it so talkable. This sounds like it's a convenience thing, but a convenience thing is okay. But you know, for the township telling us, "Oh, you really should have it," blah 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 blah, and they pay for theirs, and we pay for ours that's theirs.
Well,
We
the difference is we don't pay rent, so it's a different kind of an agreement with.
comes out of your bank account, Kevin, no matter who you send the money to.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
but
Yeah, but the township also gives money to this board too.
well, they're required to by state.
And-
Right,
I mean,
but
so-
so the
That's
money, and then the
The state
township
law
also
does
goes
it.
building to building
Yeah.
as needed.
Mhm.
So
But-
it's not the township themselves saying that we should do it here, it's a police recommendation for safety. I think that's the difference.
So I have more questions. The cards, it's not your identification card, correct?
we don't have identification cards. So
Okay.
this is an excellent opportunity for us to move to identification cards.
But it would not say Old Bridge Public Library on it, correct?
If
Because
you have-
you should not have the name of the facility on the card, because then I drop it on the
Right.
way out to the car.
So-
Somebody else picks it up and they wait until 10 o'clock at night and they swipe the card and get in.
So those are details that we would get into as we do the setup. Those are specific choices that we would make. You can just do a key fob, you can do a card. Those are all variables that we would have to decide moving forward. And that's where I had kind of thought that buildings and grounds would be in on those discussions. And I just want to add with regard to the finance, when the state calculates library municipal appropriations, they put in building maintenance in there. That's why our appropriation is higher. And I know that it creates kind of a dysfunctional situation, but that's the setup.
But this is going beyond maintenance if it isn't something that's broken. I mean, you know,
What about?
this is an enhancement that you're making, which is okay. But I don't have to look at the state formula you're talking about. I really don't know how, you know, that works.
It's 1/3 of a mil with the.
Oh, I know that. I've been around 20 years. I don't know what they put into calculating what the total amount is. I thought it was 1/3 of a mil of the money you get in, a third of the mil comes to us. Do they tell us how to spend that?
To some extent, to get our state aid. There are certain standards that we have to meet. I'm finishing the state annual report this week, but not entirely, no.
Again, I don't think we were ever schooled on all of that. I think that this is, as I see it, is there a way you could do the staff entrance door where people line up and you gotta look down there? Do one door, see how it works, and then expand it?
What about the few doors that are still gonna have keys? Who's gonna have access to those?
It's what you do.
Basically, so our building, we've got like 12 doors. It's not ideal for security because we've got doors that go around the whole exterior of the building. So those that are not in regular use would not be included because there isn't any point in doing those. Those are only emergency exits. So none of the emergency exits would be covered. It's the doors where we regularly use them, or if we had a situation where the police needed to come in through a side door or something like that. So like I said, they went through and took a look for safety reasons to just give us a starting conversation.
The only doors that I thought people used was the staff's door and the front door. What other doors are people using to go in and out?
At certain times, the meeting room doors are used. During voting, when we're open before and after
Well, we're
hours.
not gonna do that anymore, are we? Anyway.
After this
Right,
year,
whatever.
we gotta get through that. We gotta get through this year. But yeah, most of those doors are not used. So this is where it was the staff door and it was safety and then something up at the main entrance. Like I said, you know, if we want them, the person from the company that the town has used I'm not an expert on this, and we could certainly ask them to come in to answer the board's questions.
Yeah, well, good move, but it's something else that we're buying that we really don't know what we're buying.
Well, my only thing is, so you mentioned 7 doors, right?
Yeah,
And I'm just wondering, do we need all 7 doors, right?
I think
I-
that's a question for them,
For who?
for the police
Okay.
and for that company, to give the answer to that. I'm only taking a recommendation from the experts on that. So I didn't tell them how many doors to do. I didn't make any recommendation to them. They came in to evaluate our building from a safety standpoint, which started when we did active threat training.
Right.
And that's where these recommendations are coming from.
So I think that might be helpful then to provide a report to the board on which doors are being included and why. So we know obviously
how
the
much
step
they're
entry door.
used. You know, these people are coming in, they're not here all the time. So they're getting information, 7 doors, that who's using those doors? Maybe.
So again, if it's coming from, if the police department is involved in this, I think that they might have done some evaluation by the layout of the building and access points that would be most appropriate to have this type of access. So I'd be interested to understand that, you know, are they recommending certain doors, or are they just saying, yeah, you can go with these doors, but you don't need to, type of thing? So
yeah, and no one said anything like that to me. I told them that we weren't interested in doing all of the doors. They gave me a recommendation based on their expertise, and the others, DPW, the police, the town, everything I've been hearing is saying that this is a good suggestion, and then I present that to all of you. I'm not an expert on doors.
Neither are we.
I think the number of doors that's been determined is probably the fire code more than anything else. All those doors open out, do they not?
I
I'm talking
believe
about,
so.
yeah, which means they're emergency exit doors. And they have no locks on outside, do they? I think you just have the emergency bar.
I
But
believe so.
yeah. So my question is, if we have 7 doors, 11 doors, 12 doors, $4,000 a door, I just don't know if that numbers even makes sense. Now, we don't have to get a quote for it because it meets the state, you know. And you mentioned earlier when you first spoke that part of the money that's allocated, the 3%, the 3 mil rather, has line items. So how much is the line item for security?
There isn't a line item for security. There are standards in the annual report that I have to meet in order for us to get our state aid. There's no.
Is there a question in that report asking?
No.
Is the $50,000 going to be in this report whenever it's due to hit?
No.
So I question the fact. I mean, personally, I think we should be getting a bid on anything that's over $10,000, whether it's required by the state law or just as a matter of, you know, proper purchasing.
I think it's a very different project if you depart from the municipal complex on this particular feature.
How are we departing from them?
If we're using a different system, if we're using a different vendor, if it's something that doesn't get seamlessly managed, I think that it loses its utility.
So it can lose its thing within you get 3 bids and 2 of the bids are better than the one you want to buy independently.
Right, but I don't think that addresses the point I just made, which is having a different vendor and having a different system undermines the value of undertaking the project at all.
I disagree strongly.
I don't follow that. Kevin?
Okay, yes. So
I'm done.
are we done with this discussion? Are we ready to take a vote?
Is there any way we could table it for more information?
You can,
Well,
you
we
can always
could-
make a motion to table, but
Well, we can make a motion, but
Would
if
we
you
have
choose
to?
to, yeah.
what?
This whole thing is, again, I'm thinking it from a school perspective. Like, Frank, the way you're making it sound is it's almost like as if the high school is going to run its own security system while Shepherd School is going to run a different security system. And for
Well, there are different
Doesn't
settings between a
sense.
library that's got 100 people coming in a day and the opportunity to lose cards and do all of those things. And to my knowledge, we haven't had any incidents that I can recall. Joan, can you recall under the current system that we're aware of?
My feeling is I don't have information. You say we have 4 doors that are used a lot. Where and for what?
So that's kind of where I stand as well, right? So I can think of the staff door. I can think of 2 doors just right here alone, right? Going to the garden. So if somebody goes into the garden, then they got to come through the door. I know right now, if somebody would go in there, you kind of have to leave the door open or have somebody else let you in, correct? And then there's one that goes into the conference room, right? So that's 3. And then I don't know what other doors you're mentioning, but
Like I said, I didn't make this up.
no, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just
Wait,
trying
wait.
to understand like what the
You can
7
change
doors
the
are
use of
and
doors.
why they were chosen over like what wasn't chosen, right? So is the right number 7 doors? Is it 5 or is it 10? I don't know.
And that has to be on the usage.
What I've included is the proposal that was sent. There were, like I said, there were also discussions with the town IT manager, where he was supporting their recommendation. And when I was at the safety meeting, this was discussed by all of the department heads at the safety meeting as being a desirable project. So that's why I'm bringing it to all of you.
See, I understand all of that, Dawn. The thing I don't understand is there are people who are not in the building all the time determining usage of what doors and identifying which one we have to pick out. You know, if somebody has a door near them and
They're
is
the
using
experts, though.
in and out, and you didn't approve that, well, that's a waste
Yeah.
of money.
Yeah, no, but Joan, they're an expert. I would probably go with I definitely would go with their opinion over, someone that sits at the resource desk, no offense to them, but just because they're,
Call the question before it's voted.
I'm not questioning their opinion. I'm
Yeah.
not questioning information. What information is being shared? Why can't we look at it? Maybe if we had a map with the doors identified on it, it would be logical. I don't know. I don't know that much about the library. But
I think this goes back to your question of whether you're ready to vote. If somebody wants to make a motion to table, this would be the time. And if somebody wants to call the question and get a vote, this would be the time. But I'm not sure if people are ready to vote or not.
I'll make a motion to table.
I'll second it.
okay, so.
Vote on the motion.
So I just want to understand, so discussion on tabling it first.
There's no discussion on that.
There's no discussion on the table.
Well, can I
It's a
ask as to
special-
why
it's a special
we're
motion.
looking to table
You're
it?
saying table for
I
more.
just want more information.
Okay, for more information. And
And possibly a secondary and third quote, even though it is not required.
well, see, so that's,
That's a different question.
right, so that's where the question is. If we're gonna table it, let's say for 1 month till next month's meeting, just to get information. And then the director provides us a report on which doors and the recommendations made by the police department and the company that is handling this.
And did we, I'll talk about it after we're
That
at
I think is different than,
tabling.
coming back and saying that this isn't sufficient, we want to go table it again and so
Yeah,
on.
so Frank, are you motioning to table for more information, as Dr. George said, or are you making a motion to table to redo the process?
I want more information. I agree with Dr. George.
Okay, so that's.
1 month time.
So we're looking to table for 1 month time.
Whatever
right, so-
time is necessary to get the information to us. If it's not ready next month,
1 month.
Yeah.
I'll find a way.
Okay. So roll call on that, please.
Me, no. Maddie? Mhm. I'm just,
You can pass if you're not sure and come back to you.
I'll say yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Rocco,
Yes.
Dr. George,
Yes,
Sarah.
Yes.
Okay. So that kills our motion for the action then.
Correct, the
So we
motion
don't-
is tabled till next month.
Okay, so we're tabled. Okay, new business. I think you had
Yes,
something.
so
Ro-
I do.
Okay,
So on April 20th, we are running the mayor's third annual Health and Wellness 5K and Kids Dash. It is a township event. It's in collaboration with All Around Old Bridge. And this is the third annual one. However, this will actually be the second one that we're doing in person because of COVID. We had to do it virtually. So with the first one that we did, because we're utilizing the township's complex, we're parking here and we're using the parking here. The race starts here and it ends here. And the health and wellness fair is over at the John Piccolo parking lot. So alongside of where the library's grass is, we rope it off for the runners. We have food and water for them after the race. That's where the mayor does the medals, and then we run the trophies and the award ceremony in the health and wellness fair section. The event starts, its setup is at 7 a.m., but we are finished by 10 a.m., and that is when we're breaking down. Because we're utilizing this entire space, I would like to make a recommendation that the library opens a half hour later, where we will be able to, all of us, advertise this all around Old Bridges, the newspapers, everyone is aware. They would put an ad front page letting everybody know that the library would be opening up a half hour later. This way it will give everyone enough time to come out of the parking lot and now allow the patrons from here ample time to come in. Employees, if they come in a little earlier to open, they can park in the police parking lot. So that would
What
give
day
them
of
the
the week
opportunity to come in.
what day of the week is it? Is it weekend or?
So it's a Saturday. It is a
Saturday.
Saturday morning, but we are done by 10. That's when everyone is starting to come out.
so I know we've done this in the past, and is that the way that it was? I don't know who would know how the library handled it. I know, I do believe that they opened late.
They did.
Is a half an hour sufficient, and
That's up to you.
is the staff going to be able to have sufficient parking to be able to get in and open the library?
So,
before-
so how much
before the
staff
parking
would you
lot
normally
clears
have
up?
on a Saturday morning?
So, I don't even know a number. I would say like 10 people.
Okay.
About 10 people.
So we would make arrangements where they would be able to park in the police parking because no one else from the public is parking there.
Yeah.
So we would make arrangements for them to park there, and that would not be a problem. They can come in whenever they need to. They'll be able to open up here. It's also an invitation for the library to come and also table and hands out information of upcoming events and programming and whatnot. The first one that we did, we had 528 runners, and with them were family, friends, and community that came out. Because again, we have the health and wellness fair. It's a wonderful thing. It's a run for our hometown heroes. So all the money that is raised, then Mayor Walker will then decide how she would like to dispense it out. What Mayor Henry had done in the past was our veteran groups had received a donation from that. And then we had first responders that were in need. They service our community. So this was our way of a community coming together to service them back. So it's a very nice event for the town as a whole, and we have so much participation. Again, it is a wonderful opportunity, which is why I always do a health and wellness fair with it, because it gives other organizations and businesses in our area an opportunity to exhibit. We're not selling anything, no one's making money, there's no food or anything like that. It's literally just community coming together. And that's it.
And I personally, I think the half hour is just a little awkward. Like 1 hour, if we were going to do it, makes a little more sense to me, so that it's an even, so by 11 o'clock, we're going to have no problems with anything. So we're not going to be adding to the congestion. I just know that whenever there's a change in schedule, the Board of needs to approve that, so.
Doesn't, like,
I
yeah,
I
Frank.
totally agree with Dawn, because if you have, what, 600 people running and it's a little warm after 3 hours, they may want to go into the library, cool off.
Well-
Especially if they drove themselves, so.
I was thinking that too, and when we usually do events such as Old Bridge Day on the complex, a lot of people use the library for the restroom facilities and so on, or to just get a break and sit down for a few minutes. So
So here's the thing, if you open, and that's fine. The only thing I need to put out there is we're closing the parking lot. Come a
Yeah.
7:45, because our runners are then coming into the pathway. We start the race here, but we also end it in here. So we have to be very careful that we have no vehicles moving. So this parking lot is shut tight until the last event is done.
So what's your recommendation?
I mean, patrons can't come in and staff can't come in. So my recommendation would be to close
For 1 hour.
for 1 hour.
Makes sense.
Okay. Do we need a motion on this?
Yes, because
Okay.
you're changing.
So
hours.
then I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion?
No.
Maddie,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Rocco,
Yes.
Dr. George,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with anything for new business? Okay, director's report?
Did anybody have any questions about the database report? Okay, did anybody have questions about the rest of the report? Okay.
So I'm a little,
Oh.
a little confused about the section that was listed as funding.
Yes.
So what is, I know it mentions the Friends group, and you said there's some uncertainty regarding funds in the gifts and grants and how those funds are to be used, right?
Yes.
What's actually the question there?
So normally when you have a gift or a grant that's deposited, it comes with attachments. People don't just say, here's $30,000. There are very specific requirements of how that money gets spent, and results. Because of COVID, because of history, it's been researched that account has, like, I think around $20,000 in it, and there's no strings attached to that right now. Like, there's nothing. We do know that in the past, the Friends would make a regular deposit into that account of, $5,000 a quarter, whatever they raised, but there's no record anymore of where that money came from. And we want to spend it. We want to spend it on programs. The Friends are now up and running again. And as an example, to kick off the summer reading program, they want, there's a program that's $1,500 where they bring a bus in, the parking lot would get closed off, and it's a petting zoo on a bus for families to go through that would be here for 3 hours. The Friends would like to fund that. And it used to be that what was kept in the gifts and grants was money given by the Friends to the library for programs. I don't have any documentation of that right now. So I'm just asking, can we move forward with spending that money on programs? Number one, because there's no other purpose for it right now. And then in the future, I believe the Friends are going to hold on to and manage their own money. Because normally you have your gifts and grants deposited to the Friends, not to the library, because then it counts as income for us. So you have all of those things managed by the Friends, and that's the way it's normally done in most libraries. But right now we just need to expend this $20,000, and the Friends want to use it for this, to start by using it for this program. But I can't tell them that. That has to come from the trustees.
Right, because that money, because it's here with no strings attached, it's not a conditional gift. That is now library dollars.
Correct.
So it's subject to this group, not to the Friends.
Correct.
And that can change in the future if they move it elsewhere, or not if they move this elsewhere. But if they move future deposits elsewhere, then the Friends are in control of that.
Yes.
This is Board of Trustees controlled
So
money.
with that, it being Board of Trustees money,
Mhm.
we want to utilize that, as she's stating, for a summer reading event.
Mhm.
We can instruct her to pay for the whatever she requires for the summer event, the petting zoo and whatever else, if they want to do a bouncy house or whatever. And that would come out of those funds,
It
right?
could,
But
yes.
what I think what we're being asked here is to move the money to the Friends and then let the Friends pay for it. That's just adding, is that?
That's one option. And this is where it really has to come from you. You could give that money back to the Friends. Right now, when we wanted to spend any of that money, the trustees are writing the checks. So it necessarily goes on our bill list. But normally the trustees don't have say in what the Friends are, of course they get a report, but I don't want to set a course and go rogue on this. I would like the trustees to be presented with the options.
Where did the Friends get the money?
When the Friends,
I know where they got it. I've been here 20 years. They got the money because people donate books to the library for services. We have a donation policy or whatever. And then we let the Friends have access to it. They didn't raise the funding. We don't say anything about it. But that's how I think they got to how it got dispersed, that the library had something to do with it. Because when
also get
people
direct
donated
donation.
books, it was to be for library services. It wasn't to send the Friends to Las Vegas. You know what I mean? So that was never clarified.
There goes
Also,
Rob.
we don't have a clue. Could we have a list of who the Friends are? Because we don't know who they are. We haven't met them. We don't know who they are, whatever. I think it keeps us too separated. We always had a liaison from the trustees to the Friends. I served, Mary Chamberlain served, whatever. And we've had a lot of money, a lot of problems with money over the years and Friends. And I'm not going to go into talk about that.
No, we don't need to go into all of that now, but
Right.
I'm just, my question just is, what is the best way to fund this event, right? And I don't know that moving money from one account to another organization to then pay for it makes any sense.
Yeah, I think you have to look at it as two things.
Yeah.
First, three things. The first one is past. Forget about it. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Because the money's yours. It's there. Doesn't matter who did it or what they thought they were doing. Because now it's just basically cash on hand for the trustees. So with that money that's on account now in your gifts and grants funds, the best move there is you pay directly for the bouncy house.
Correct. Right.
Once we have expended all of that money,
Yes.
or even while we are still expending it, new things that come into the Friends, they should hold on to that. And they can do, as a 501c3, they can do things for the betterment and operational soundness of the library.
Yes.
And that's their decision. But all the dollars that are in now are your decision. And it's best to not, the only thing more boring than the attorney is the auditor. But were I the auditor, I would say, please don't do that.
Yeah.
So I think it keeps you cleaner that way. For these funds that are in there with no strings attached, no earmarks,
Sure.
it makes it a little bit cluttered in terms of the past, but in terms of the present, it's just some money you guys can spend.
And the Friends are, just to be clear, also getting direct donations in memoriam.
We knew who they were.
Pardon me?
It would help if we knew who they were.
One of them is on right now. Estee's the treasurer.
I know she came to the meeting. So we know her for that, but I think that we ought to either meet them or thank them or whatever.
Barbara Cannon is the president.
No, that's Gary Cole Johnson, who's come to our meetings.
Oh, okay.
And you've
that's
met
right, he
him.
did. Yes, he did. Yep.
And then Barbara Cannon is, I'm not sure if she's the secretary.
Okay, but she's an executive member as
She
well.
is
Yeah.
a member of
Okay.
the
That's good.
executive
She's
board.
been on the Friends for longer than I have, so
Yeah.
that's. a long
Okay.
time.
Okay, great.
So I'll make sure, like I said, we'll go ahead and pay for the bouncy house, or not, sorry,
And the petting zoo,
petting
For
zoo
example.
whatever. And-
out of that. Okay, and it's within the amount for the director's purview. I just wanted to be sure that you all were aware of the conversation.
Yep.
And that also the Friends get clarity
Mhm.
on what that is, because, you know, at one point they were told that that money was theirs and it's not anymore.
Okay.
So, okay.
Okay, great.
The
And-
Friends in the past, when they had the big book sale we used to have annually, they would give us $25,000. That's how they would raise that kind of money. I think that's a threshold. It becomes taxable or something after that. Then it went away, and we had all kind of problems with the Friends leaving and whatever. And so you need to set it up so it's faultless, but you should be able to work together. Pays for it.
Yeah.
And they're doing an amazing job. I mean, I just want to acknowledge Esty with the speed at which she got that 501c3, all of them. But the way that she was able to get that financial stuff sorted was really commendable.
And I think that as they get rolling and they get moving, right? I know they had some time where they had to establish an executive committee and so on. I'd like to think that they're going to start to come to some library events, such as that reading program, you know, the summer reading program thing that we're doing, and maybe be at the table when the library's table for Old Bridge Day and so on, and we'll get to know them then.
Oh, and they're welcome to come for the 5K.
Yeah.
And they can set up a table for 5K.
I'll be
Yeah.
more than
They
happy.
had a treasurer in the past. I don't know. Tommy Troutman was their treasurer. There wasn't a lot of conversation between us and the Friends. It kind of wore out, but it's good to see new faces.
Well, new faces, and it's a new organization. I'm hopeful that they're going to be very involved and get to know us and build a good, strong relationship. So
Would it be, would the board like for me to arrange for next month's trustee meeting for a representative from the from the Friends to be here to talk about?
I think that's great.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, perfect.
I got another thought on the, we're paying $8,000 to tutor for a year, and there's $20,000 there. How much of tutoring could we pay for among our own teachers in the district, particularly if some of the teachers made recommendations to certain students that would give them direct tutoring with somebody they know, and see if we can get enough people that we can get more than 56. What's
They
that?
already tutor. And what we pay them is covered by the union, I assume.
No,
I mean-
that's independent contracting, but you don't want to underwrite that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, the other thing, and I don't want to
Very
keep
much.
beating this
Very much more.
tutor.com thing to a pulp, but it sounds to me, when you were talking about it a little bit as well, right, that if my child is home and struggling with their math homework and they need someone to help get them through it, tutor.com is a quick and easy way to say, log in and you'll get a tutor on there that understands it and can walk you through
Maybe.
at that time. Whereas some of the tutoring programs we have here, and I know because my daughter was tutoring some younger students, they set up a time. Okay, I'll meet you at the library on Thursday at 4 p.m. or whatever.
Yeah.
But my child might need help with their homework right now, right?
Yeah, and you can also upload a paper, like if someone has to write an essay.
Brain fuse, and then they review it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's different kind of reasons for using some of those.
And
right?
what I really need is the librarians doing the evaluation. And teachers, but the librarians need to do the evaluations, and then they need to train each other on the products, and then that needs to be combined with the promotion.
So again, and I'm totally beating this to a dead horse, but if we had a branch outreach services manager and that person would then take the time to go into each of these websites and see what each of their cliche, their niches are, and then start to go to the PTA meetings and so on in September and say, if your child is struggling with their homework, tutor.com is the better one. If your child needs someone to read their essay and provide feedback on it, Brain Freeze is the best one to use. And I bet you the 95% of the parents probably don't even know what any of these websites are.
Right. I'll be
And
honest, I did it. And
Yeah.
I'm Dr. George was saying before that, I believe it was Dr. George, a lot of parents don't like to teach the math because it's different than what we've learned. I'm not a teacher. So I refuse because I'm afraid of teaching it incorrectly or teaching it, undoing what the teacher already started. Had I known a lot of these services were available, I would have taken advantage of it for my children instead of them waiting for their father to come home late at night.
Yeah.
And I feel
So-
like tutor.com is a misleading name because it's really, you know, number 5 on the homework. I don't get this.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
homeworkhelp.com makes much more sense.
Mhm.
But realistically, we need all of the librarians and all of our staff engaged and knowing and selling resources.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I just want to get into some really good news because I'm really excited about a number of things. The technology tower is done. It has been replaced immediately. Internet speeds and Wi-Fi speeds were increased.
Until just now.
What?
Yeah,
So we just got
Right
that
here.
notice.
We just got a week.
Oh, well,
Okay.
so the Wi-Fi is still another project that has to work on, but the actual internet speed. So when everybody asks about the computers and where are the new computers, there's no point in putting new computers on bad technology. So that tower, we came in on a Sunday at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning and replaced that tower and it went seamlessly, 4 hours, it's done. So I'm so incredibly excited about that. Our next project, the technology committee will be getting, I wrote in the director's report because I want a hard date. Our servers are in peril, as I've been told by the technology manager for the town. So I want the proposal and the estimate for the servers to be ready for the technology committee by March, I believe it's 22nd. So that the committee has time to review and ask questions. So once that project is done, our technology infrastructure is completely updated. And by the way, on the documentation for that tower, the last notes were from 2014. And in 2014, they said that the tower was outdated. So it's now fixed. So I'm really excited about that. We've started recycling because we weren't. I don't know why, but we are. So that's back. We have 3 promotions in all around Old Bridge this month. So I'm really excited that that's becoming a regular habit. We have a color ad for the Lawrence Harbor story times in there. We have a full events list in all around Old Bridge. And then the monthly article that I write, brief article, is about our streaming services that so many of our patrons are never going to walk through the doors of the library. So we have those 3, and then every month. So this is where we have started to get some of the promotions going again. So that's why my time's a little strapped, because to find time to do all that. Anyway, next, I mentioned in the director's report, it's well below $1,500, which is within the director's discretion. We don't currently have a room scheduling software. We don't currently have an event registration software. And we don't have, it does room scheduling, event registration, and there's one other piece. It's a company that's called Plymouth Rocket. It's replacing a software that I've had in other libraries. It's much less expensive than what Demco was selling this product like $5,000. And eventually it's a lower price for our Museum Pass software. And that Museum Pass software can be used to update our passport scheduling software. So this whole suite of products, I'm extremely excited about. Right now, when you try to look at our events calendar, that's the other piece. It's an events management software. Right now, if you try to look at that on your phone, it doesn't work. Our calendar doesn't work on the phone. So it's going to be an improvement all around. I'm really excited, and I was extremely impressed with their responsiveness and how inexpensive it is. So that's another one. And we're changing our discards protocol on the books. I won't belabor that. One full-time library this morning. Okay, that's just another issue. So I believe that that's all I have for you now.
Okay, anybody have any questions or anything on the director's report?
Just
Okay.
one comment. Under the cooperation with the cultural arts, and we have displays, could we reach out to the schools too? Because they have very large art departments and things, and use them to show kids' work. And you know, it's a central location, and people don't go to the schools to look at it.
I've already been eyeballing the hanging soft. So we already have the equipment to hang it, and I've already been eyeballing it. It's just getting somebody to do that outreach and then get it scheduled. That's all we've got to do.
Good. But I think
no, I was just gonna say, because I'm on cultural arts also, and we're doing an Earth Day event. We have the schools participating with recycling projects, so maybe we can, you know, do something similar.
Yeah, and we've had a discussion. Right now we're collecting newspapers for the Cultural Arts Committee's project. But we have those wires that come down, which there's a lot of them that are empty, and there's also a display tree. So Cultural Arts is not using all of our display spaces. We still have a few left, and I've kind of felt that those would deliberately be for the schools.
All right, we can reach out to the schools for that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, committee reports, buildings and grounds. Rocco, anything?
Yeah, we have a couple of things. We had a meeting last week. A couple of things that we just want to bring up and mention. First is the atrium cleanup area. We got from the town contractor, we ended up getting an estimate of removing the spruce and cleaning up that whole area for a cost of $1,850. There was a lesser estimate of $850, but that's just to remove the largest tree and leave the rest as it is. I think it would be much better for us to completely clean out the entire area, have the contractor clean out the entire area for $1,000 more. So.
And then what's the plan once it gets cleaned out? I think there was mention of scouts groups and so on doing planting.
So that's what we've been doing, and I think it's gotten us into the situation that we're in. We've got leaks coming in with some of the meeting room. We've got soil up against the windows. I met with the people from Rutgers, from the Master Gardeners, and they said we don't really get enough light, because I'd thought about doing a native plant garden or what could we do. We're still in the beginning stages of discussing it. When we have scouts or someone go out to take care of it, that's a very small group of people who get to use that area. I'd like to look at some solutions that would allow more people to utilize that space, perhaps creating a story time area out there, perhaps having some tables and umbrellas where people can be outdoors reading, having snacks when they're at the library. That's just one idea that will obviously be brought to buildings and grounds.
Yeah.
Just the
I definitely think that once you clean it out, if you do any other kind of landscaping in there, some thought has to be done about something that's easy to maintain, because I think that's what happened. I know there was some scout groups that did it and they took care of it for a while, but then, you know, things fall off, or, you know, and then it just gets overgrown, and then you wait for the next group to come in and pick it up.
And the thing is that, you know, the cleanup and the kids, that's great, but unless you have an expert landscaper, it's everybody experimenting. with what's going on out there.
I think we just need to take a look at it as we go forward.
Mhm.
Let's just get it cleaned out first. I think that's the first step. Next thing, the bathroom renovations. Dawn sent out 4 estimates or 4 calls for estimates from architects. We only got 1. So that came out over $20,000. We're going to continue working with DPW to see if we can get some more architects and get some more quotes before we move forward with anything that we're going to bring to a vote or to the committee for information. So the search continues. And then finally, the roof. As seems like a thing we talk about every month. Let's just talk about it again. We had some really bad rain last month. It seems like we've got more leaking all over the place. Patrons' complaints have been logged. And so far Dawn keeps talking to DPW and we keep getting no answer in return. So, I mean, if you would like to expound on that a little bit more, but it seems like we're doing everything we can to try to get somebody to do something about it, but it seems like the town is not really cooperating.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, the discussion that we had the last time, I know that those of you who have been here longer were talking about some of the history and some of the attempts that have been made to rectify the situation. I think people are just fatigued with this issue and with the solutions that have been put forward. And I think that, I've said, let me talk to the contractor. Let me look at the warranties. Most things, I mean, I'm not an expert at. My father was a commercial roofer. So I was writing, estimates when I was 12. Doesn't make me an expert on this one. What I'm saying is I at least have a vocabulary. I understand that people feel that they've exhausted everything, that it's design flaws, that it's all of this. It still can't continue.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that DPW has reached out. Casey has reached out, talking to contractors, talking to all of these people. I've still, we're putting staff every time we have these heavy storms. They have to go throw tarps and set out buckets. I have to write a protocol for them because it's also an issue of safety.
Mm-hmm.
There, are physical issues involved in it, and the leaks are getting worse. So I'm asking for help because I don't know what else to do.
Okay.
So, I think that is something we as a board need to discuss though in the future. We have to have a conversation about this. What are our next steps?
We had a patron ask us to turn down the sound of the dripping because it was disturbing her. We also had a patron who said, I've been coming to this library for 3 years. It's leaked the entire 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's
right.
going on? I could have fixed this in a weekend. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But the public, it does have an impact on how people see us and how they see the investment of their tax dollars.
Again, it's not our building. So doesn't this have to be an effort of both of us together? We can't fix the roof. And we were lucky when we had Owen Henry because he knew roofs. And he would go and tell us what was wrong and what wasn't wrong. But it's not going to stop raining, guys. So we better come up with something.
So we have a new administration. We have a new mayor with a new business administrator. This came up recently as well. I think that we need to reach out to the business administrator and let them know that we want to sit down and have some conversations. Let's make up a list of what we want to talk to them about, the roof being priority number 1. If there's any other items that you can think of that we can utilize the township's assistance with, shared services type of stuff, shared services, we were talking about personnel for the maintenance. How do we want to go about that? So let's get a couple of things together. Let's reach out to them and maybe meet with the business administrator and the mayor's office and see what we can get going forward.
I think one of the things you need to do first is see if you can go to town hall and get the legal action that was taken when these floors first developed. I believe the building opened in 1991, and the architectural firm that the town used was hot at that time, and they did 5 or 6 libraries with similar roofs. All of them leaked. And we were part of the lawsuit. So I don't know where that went, if there was any money gotten out of it, but I would do that as a starting point, because it's my understanding that there was a major flaw in the design. And I don't know how it turned out for all the other libraries. They were all a lot smaller than our roofs were. And over the years, when the new roof was put on 4 or 5 years ago, which we donated to, believe it or not, as wet as it is now, it's a lot less than it was then. It's not acceptable the way it is, but it could be a very expensive project. And I assume at this point we have, as a matter of fact, the roofing contractor, when he put the roof on, and we still have leasing, he said he would honor the guarantee for 20 years to fix the leaks as they were discovered. So if we're not giving him that, at least to take a shot at wherever it is, at identifying it, I think we need to try that first before, you know, it could be a very expensive capital item. And it's, as you said, it's their building. And this is the only building that has the kind of roofs compared to the rest of the compound. So it's time to revisit it and then see where we can go.
Okay.
Who needs to be at this meeting with the business administrator?
Well, I think we start with, obviously, I think buildings and grounds needs to be there, because I think, obviously it's the roof, and we talked about maintenance, right? And seeing if we can share in on their maintenance contract. And I don't know if there's any other concerns that we want to bring up with them. So I would say buildings and grounds, and I would like to be there. And then if there's anyone else that feels a need, just let us know. But I don't want to overwhelm them, but you know, certainly a few representatives from the library to sit down with them to start the conversation.
And is that, would I be reaching out, or is that you would be reaching out?
I think we'll start with you reaching out to the business administrator.
Yep.
Right, and seeing if we can set up a meeting. We could do it here, we could do it there, and we'll start with that.
And just one last item, furniture renovations. We have some estimates for phase 1, circulation desk, and the idea farm. We're going to take a look at them next month, and we think we are going to bring something up to a vote for next month, but we want to look it over some more before we move forward as a committee.
So I was talking to the director about furniture renovations and so on. And I think that if we were to start to move forward with the plan before we did that, I think it would be good for us for all of the Board of Trustees to be invited to kind of do a walkthrough and get a vision of what is, you know, what furniture are we looking at replacing, refurbishing, and so on. So if we can do something like that within the next, you know, whenever, next month, 2 months, whenever, before you guys, you know, really start to move forward with this, before we take any action, and maybe do it before a meeting or something. And then it's an opportunity for, if anybody wants to come, they come. If they can't make it or they're not interested, then they don't have to.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Finance, Maria's not here, but I will speak to her about the bank account stuff and ask her to bring that up in committee.
And I've not heard anything about the budget.
And the budget. Okay, I'll speak to her about the budget. Outreach marketing, Frank, anything?
No.
All right. Personnel negotiations. Sarah, there was a meeting. Do you want to just kind of recap real quick?
Yep, we had a meeting. Thanks, Kevin. We had a meeting a few days ago, or maybe last week already at this point. And we discussed obviously the job description that we approved today, but we also talked a lot about that coordinator strategy and communications job description. So Dawn presented the possibility of creating kind of this position. It would have no direct reports, but we did discuss like the roles and duties. And Dawn thinks that there are staff members that are ready to move up. But that obviously we would not make any promises to staff, right? But that the potential is there for somebody, potentially. So we are going to review the job description. We agreed a little bit closer as a group, and then we're going to discuss it at the next committee meeting, which I'm going to try and get before our board meeting in April. That way we can either move the job to motion at the next board meeting or not. But I don't want to hold it up anymore. We also talked about the manager of branch services and a van driver. We're just, there needs to be, I think, people to help handle outreach and the deliveries right now. Our custodian has been making those deliveries and book drops and stuff to Lawrence Harbor, and it's taking a little bit of his time, which is why we kind of wanted to move forward that manager of branch services position. And then we also talked about per diems. And so Dawn is going to collect a report for us showing how each department is being staffed. We may need to review how staff are being scheduled because right now there's a number of hours that are being covered, a little bit higher than probably we want. And am I missing anything? I think that was the crux of it without going into too many details.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. One thing I will add, the director's evaluation, I've sent out looking for feedback. I've received some, but certainly not as much as I'd like. So this will be a last call. If you'd like to provide feedback, please send it to me. Sarah, I will be including that and speaking to you to bring that to the personnel, the next personnel meeting, so we can complete that, and then we can get that delivered to the director. Okay.
Perfect.
So it's not today.
It's not. I'm sorry. It's not.
That's
today.
okay. I just wasn't aware.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I will keep you updated and posted as to when I believe it's going to come. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Policy. Anything for policy?
Nothing on policy.
All right. And then technology. Frank, I know that I reached out to you. I know you were going through some things, but I think we need a conversation for technology coming up soon.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to be out until my foot heals, and then I probably, as soon as that's done, I'm going to have to get my knee replaced. So I can do Zoom.
Certainly do it via Zoom, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The big things that we have coming up, and I wanted to wait to do them together. So just for economy of time, the server's the most critical thing. The website is the second thing, and I've been collecting estimates and creating a strategy for that, because that's key to everything we're doing, the promotion, everything. And our website's messy right now, so I want to make sure that I have a report for you, like I said, by March 22nd, so that you'll have an opportunity to read that and to have a meeting.
Great.
Yes. Would you be kind enough to include the servers, all the technical information on what we're using now, and we'll take it from there as far as what we're going to need to upgrade to, and what is our goal exactly?
Just okay. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else to add before we go to public comments?
I actually want to say one thing.
Okay.
So today Linda handed me the roll call book, and I love old things, and I can see how old it is.
I think it's 1970.
Yeah, it's 1 year younger than I. Us. But I have to say, I love looking at things like this, because I realize that each page is a year, represents a year. Yeah. So there's so much history here that's gone on in this building. And it's really nice for us to all be part of it. It's almost finished. I know, it's almost done. Yeah. I hope to retire by the time we get done. But I just wanted to mention that, because I think that's really neat. It's a nice part of history.
All right, public comments. Anyone from the public like to speak?
Sure. I actually have a question, and I'm not sure if you addressed it already or at some point. I have brought up to Dawn having public access to like the director's report and possibly the bill listing because it's not posted anywhere. Like when there's a council meeting, you get a whole packet of stuff. And I have, you know, we have nothing like that for the library, and I don't know if that's been discussed yet.
We did discuss that, and I think we said that the agenda and the bill listing are public records and could be made available, correct?
Yes, but you want to hold off on that because the trustees should have it in advance in case there are any questions or revisions or changes. So,
correct. So like
you
the
know,
day of the meeting,
yeah.
typically.
Yeah.
And we can post that on the website. And
Sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't realize the director's reports won't be available to the public.
The director's report is not available to the public, correct?
You can choose to make it available to the public, but
I've just never seen it not
your,
available to the
it depends
public.
on what the contents are, what the attachments are. If there are attachments that you wish to not broadcast,
So
you can exclude them from what's posted.
I'm trained to write them. And then typically I would send it to the board president beforehand to see the contents of it before it would go out. But obviously whatever the board wants to do, it's just, I personally believe that a lot of institutional knowledge has been lost here because the director's reports weren't part of that record.
Yeah, it's perfectly legal if you do a day of to post that on your website. It's just a question of what you're actually putting in it and if there's any executive session type stuff in there.
Yeah,
attachments, draft budgets, things like that would be certainly excluded from the public.
Yeah, I guess I agree that the director's report is general information. So the agenda, the bill listing, the director's report. Does anybody have any opposition to those three items being posted the day of the meeting?
I have.
Are we not? Go ahead, Joan.
I think would be extremely frustrating to read the report and not be able to question the director, you know, as we do. You're just reading it, half of it you won't understand because you don't have other explanations. I don't know what the point of it is.
Well,
the director's report is not a report.
Chose to read it.
It's a report to the board.
And
I don't even think it would be
under public comment. They could certainly ask it.
And that's
if they chose to.
In other libraries, the reason for the director's report being shared with the community was so that they were able to ask questions about what was going on in the library.
Well, I think it would raise more questions at this point than we're able to handle. My own opinion. I didn't think the director's report should be part of the minutes. If I look at minutes, I thought it was our actions considered, our actions taken, who votes, blah, blah, blah. But our bylaws have the director's report in the minutes as part of the minutes. So I don't know. I just think the director's report is to the board so that they can vote sensibly, blah, 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 blah. The minutes should be available after they've done their business. The public can look at it and have whatever opinion they want. But either we serve a purpose or we don't. So I will be voting against making the director's report.
We don't need to vote on this, right, Chris?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, Kevin, are we also, we are putting all the meetings on YouTube, correct?
That's correct.
So that if anybody wants to hear what goes on at the meeting, there should be some note if you care to see the meeting list, you know, tell them where they can get it because that gives them an opportunity to read what took place at this meeting tonight and possibly write something to the directors or to the board about what they think and so on. If you're putting it out there on YouTube, everything is available except closed sessions.
We don't advertise
with all due respect, it's not. I've been on the board, so I know what is in the director's report. And the director's report is a summary of things that have gone on in the library over the last month or projects that you're taking on or whatever. And Dawn doesn't go through that whole report in the board meeting. She might pick out a couple things that need clarification, but she's not going over any of that stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
So how is that fair that the public doesn't have any record of of any of that. I just,
Well,
it's not
Yeah,
really the same thing. I'm watching the meeting. I'm the only member of the public who's here. So, you know, clearly I'm the one who wants the access to this stuff. And it's unfortunate that I can't get it. So I'm frustrated, you know. I mean, the agenda wasn't even posted for this month. So that's, you know, another story. But it's completely different information. It's not the same information that is in the
Okay.
meeting. So
All right.
How is the director's report if it's a compilation of things that have happened the last month? How is that different than the newsletter that goes out? You know, that all of we get notices on there about what actions are happening. I thought the director's report was material that we have to look at because we got to vote on something here, and we might need her input to that. And that's what I thought it was for.
Okay,
So I think you have to decide what it is.
I think part of the issue is because what I've heard was that the agenda is not available, but I hear that the agenda is available. So I'm not sure where on the website, is there like a board section or something like?
It's on the library website and it's on the township website.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I send it over. I can't help when they post
Right,
it,
that's
but
correct.
it is posted today. I looked.
Right, but maybe what we need is like, for instance, the Board of Ed has, you know, a tab on their website for the board. And when you click on there, it gives you all the board members, their email address or information if anybody wants to contact them. And then underneath it has the agenda for that night's meeting, that monthly meeting, and so on, and the bill listing, right? So we can do something similar, posting it the day of the meeting.
Didn't Elena told me that she posted?
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, it's there.
And it's on the township website.
What I'm saying is, if we had a specific section that maybe, I don't know where it is, but maybe if you could just look into seeing if it is easy to find or if it's something that is a little bit more difficult to find so that the information is available. And then we could also on that section post the links to the YouTubes. So if anybody wants to watch a meeting, they can watch it. They don't have to go into YouTube and search for it.
Yeah, and eventually I'd like to move us off of YouTube because we don't want to be putting the public on a commercialized database that's tracking their information in order to get things. And that's something that Maria brought up. And we do have Niche Academy, which we can start doing that, but we need to make the changes to the website first.
Okay.
Can I get a point of clarification? Dr. George, did you say that the director's report has to be included in the minutes?
You want any more?
Read the bylaws. Read the bylaws of the library, and when they discuss what minutes are, they have the director's report in there.
Okay. So people would be getting it a month late.
Well,
I don't know what they meant by
that
it, and I think we have
because
some.
we have a section on the agenda that says director's report, and so therefore we're discussing it.
Yes.
So the minutes should be anything that we've discussed in the meeting, right?
Yep.
No.
Really, the minutes just have to be things you've acted upon in the meeting.
If you discussed it and voted on it, yes. Otherwise, no.
Right.
Remember that lawyer and the cat meme? Remember that Zoom video with the cat?
Yes.
I don't think she was talking about us.
It was a funny video. I was like, no, I don't.
Okay. All right. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.